Now, now I can do this without messing up. All right, so as always, the final product is right here. 1 second to move the stuff out of the way. Yeah, so this is the final product, and here is my code. I have index.html and style.css. So what I'll be doing is basically creating a new file from scratch. Let's call this index2.html, and I'll make style2.css. I'll be just creating a project again from scratch, kind of in line with the staff answer that I wrote up. So yeah, it'd be great if you guys have your favorite code editor open or anything like that, and we can take it away. So just to start off, boilerplate HTML. I have this cool extension called Emmet that automatically creates this thing for me. I'll drop. Yeah, it's just called Emmet. If you guys want to search it up, it's just a bunch of shortcuts to it. So let's just start off with the page title, right? The News Times. Okay. The News Times. Easy stuff. And now we'll start with the actual kind of content. So how it's typically done in terms of how you break things up is you start off with rows and you break those rows into columns. And that's how all sort of libraries work. Like if you've ever heard of Bootstrap, it's a really popular library for kind of fast development. You create rows and you create columns within those rows. So you can immediately see that there's a row at the top with the title, and there's a row here with these 3 articles, and a row here with this section and this article. And so let's just start off by doing that. Let's create a div for each row. That's the best way to represent rows. So now we have 3 rows, yeah. And now within this row, we have 3 columns. And within this row, we kind of have 2 columns, you could call it. So let's create 3 divs within the second column. And 2 divs here. And so this will kind of be the structure of our entire page. So you can see that like already immediately, we already have the entire structure of the page. And so even though there's nothing on the page right now, because we haven't done anything yet, at least we can see that where we're supposed to put things. So that's always a huge advantage for kind of structuring your code first. And so actually, let me open up this page side by side so we can see our progress. And if you're curious about how to open a terminal in VS Code, it's on a Mac at least, it's Control tilde. So tilde is like that button right below escape. And so I can just do that to open up our current thing. And as you can see, we have nothing. But that's about to change because we're going to add the header. Okay, let's just name this a H1. So because this is the page title, we want it to be an H1, obviously, and it's the News Times. Awesome, and now we have our first thing on the page. Very exciting, one step at a time. So now to kind of do this, I'll start off by creating these boxes, and then we can we can go into the formatting. So let's assign these some classes. We want to be relevant classes, so let's call this article row. Actually, let's just call this row for now. And we want these 2 to be rows right here. And this row can kind of be, it's not really following the formatting of these, so we'll just leave it alone for now. And now we'll start with our CSS. Really quickly, we can see that there's a margin around here. So let's start off by having that margin. And since it's kind of a global margin, let's apply it to the body. So we have body and that. And now, because we can't really eyeball how big the margin is, we'll check and see. Also, just in case you guys don't know how to inspect element, it's control click or right click. And you can go to inspect element and it'll basically show you here in elements what everything is. So let's check the margins applied to body. It's a padding of 10. So let's add that 10 pixels. And then for rows, let's start breaking them up. Just to see if there's any padding or margin here, let's check the row. So we can go inside article text here, or not article text. We can go inside row right here. So you can see it's a width 100. So we don't need to add any external margin. So let's set that width 100%, and we'll add display flex because we want a kind of a flexbox model to make it easy to format. And also, if there's any questions or if I'm going too fast, just let me know. And see, within these, we have 3 different columns. So let's name this class equals article. Let's kind of copy that down. And since there are different sizes, we should have a different class for sizes. Typically, a good practice is also just having utility classes. So let's call this quarter all the way on the left, half for the middle because it's 50%, and then right, it's another quarter because it's 25%. So let's just start by defining these classes. Dot quarter. Width would be 25%, and that's the only property of class quarter. And dot half. Let's have the width be 50%. And just as a comment, just to let ourselves know, let's call these util classes. So yeah, commonly in industry, you just call these utilities or utils. And let's comment that out because it's not actual code, it's just a comment. Awesome. Now what we could do is we also create articles. So let's just define that for now. And assign quarter, half, and quarter to these columns. Quarter, quarter, half. We also know that this first thing on the left of this row is an article, so we'll put that in there too. And we also know it's a quarter, so we'll define that. So now we have a little bit more structure. We can't really see the structure, but that's why we add borders. So let's add a border to row. Let's add a bottom border of each row of, let's see, we don't know what border width is, so we check the border bottom. We see that each one has a border bottom of 3 pixels solid black. Awesome. So let's add that to each row. Border bottom, 3 pixels solid black. Now let's see where we get. Oh, yeah, nothing, because there's no content in there yet. Kind of forgot about that. All right, so let's put some content there. So we see that within each article, there's a title and then 2 blocks of text. Since these article titles definitely aren't as important as the title for the page, let's say that these are H5s for now. Because just in general, article titles are important, but not necessarily extremely important. Let's call this H5 and 2 blocks of text. So we create 2 paragraph blocks. And we can kind of do the same for all these. We can just add the image tag later. Put that in there, put that in there, and put that in there. Oh yeah, also, if you guys are wondering how I'm auto-saving and it's formatting itself, I have this thing called Prettier. If you're using VS Code, you can just have it as an extension right here. Otherwise, just Google Prettier and your preferred IDE, and then you can get on there. It's real helpful. You can just format your entire code on save. That's how my formatting is extremely messy and then just immediately works itself out. All right, so let's get some content in there. I'm just gonna copy this straight here. Lorem ipsum code, love it. I did not put it in the correct place. I guess while I'm kind of copying everything over, does this make sense so far to everybody? I guess it does. I guess I'm just an amazingly godly teacher then. Not going to argue with that. Okay, sick. Now that we're done with that whole kind of manual labor thing, let's see what we have. Nice. Content. And that's what we like to see, you know, stuff on the screen. Of course, this doesn't really look like this, so let's format in the correct way. So each row is display flex, right? Yeah. Why is it not display flex? Let me try flex direction. Oh, I completely forgot to link the style sheet. That's why nothing worked. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Type equals style sheet, ref equals /style .css. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Make sure I had that correct. It's rel. Now this should look a lot better. Okay, that looks a lot better now, a lot closer to what we actually want. So now we can see that there's also a 3-pixel border right here. Let's add that to the bottom of our header div. So let's call this div header, or just to be better in our class name, let's call it title container, and let's call this class title. Or to be just better in terms of naming variables, let's name it page title. So title container should go at the top because it is defined earlier. Let's just say border bottom 3-pixel solid black. And while we're at it, let's just define page title. And I can't eyeball what font that is, so I'm just gonna check. And I can see that it has all of these. I'm just gonna copy all of these because I cannot eyeball those. And whoa, that actually looks pretty good. Let's get this bread. Of course, we also do have a couple more borders. We have, these borders around here. So there are a couple strategies here. We could assign them individually, assigning a left and a right border to each article. However, that would create, let's say this left article, for example, that would create 1-pixel border on the left and 1-pixel border on the right. But once you add the middle article, that'll add another pixel border to the left. So I'll make a 1 border pixel all the way on the left, and a 2-pixel border, and then 2-pixel border, and then a 1-pixel border. But we want them all to be uniform. So I'll have to go with another strategy, which is having the row have a border to the left, and each article has a border to the right. So therefore, all the borders are with 1. Let's do that right now. So border left, this is 1 pixel. I would have checked that on a spec element, but I remember that from last time. And each article has a border right of the exact same thing. Let's see if that did the job. Awesome, it's pretty sectioned off now. Love that. All right, now it's time for actual formatting within each article. So we can see here that there's some formatting, not formatting, there's some padding or margin or something here. So let's check how much that is. So within the spec element, let's go to each row and check each article. So there's padding of 10 pixels on each side. And just in case you didn't know, if you have multiple values for padding, if you have 2 values, that'll be the top and the bottom and the left and right. So what this rule does is it doesn't have any padding for top and bottom. You can see the green here. There's nothing at top and bottom, but defines a padding of 10 pixels for the left and right. So let's put that in. Padding 0 pixels, 10 pixels. Another fun fact, I'm just gonna do this for now. If you can also define all 4 directions of padding in one statement. Instead of having padding left, padding right, padding bottom, you can do 0 pixels, 10 pixels, 0 pixels, 10 pixels. And what this basically does is it starts from north and cycles north, east, south, west. So this has a 0 pixel padding for the north and the south, 10 pixel padding for the east and the west, which is exactly what we want. We want a padding on the left and right. So now that that's done, let's check it out. Awesome, looks a lot better. All that stuff is actually formatting this looks like. So let's assign a class to that. Let's say class equals the most accurate class name would be article title. Let's put out all of these. Also, I decided that since this is breaking news, this is more important than student learns HTML. Puppies are adorable. So let's change this to H4. So, definitely more important things should have lower level headings just because that's better for SEO and just making your website show up more relevantly in Google. So now that we have a class for that, let's go back to article title and put it under article. So just one note on CSS organization. I'm kind of keeping all relevant classes kind of grouped together. So I'm kind of keeping page title, title container together, article title, article together, just so it's easier to do editing. Because when you're doing editing on like a specific part of the website, typically deals with multiple classes that are kind of nested within each other. So article title, I do not know what the font is, so let's check. Article title, I also don't know what the font size is, so I'm actually just gonna take all this, except for the margin, because that is important and I want to talk about that. So we can see that there's a margin top and bottom. here. So that is 1m. So 1m is quite literally what it sounds like. It's just a distance of one, it's just a height and width of 1m, like the letter M on your computer. So that's all really I to say about that. And as you can see here, there's two values for it. This is how your computer compiles it. Whenever you say border bottom, or border right or anything, it always compiles it down to one line just for size sake. And it's also useful if you're a developer to know that because it does save time. So let's add a margin, bottom and top for that. Margin 1m0. Now let's see where we're at. Should look a lot better. Sick. This does look a lot better. That's awesome. Oh, we never applied quarter to this, I think. Or we did. We just didn't have anything here, I guess. So now that we're pretty much done, I'll add the picture last. We will kind of start working on this. So this section was by far the trickiest part of this project. It's by far the hardest part. So if you weren't able to get it exactly, that's perfectly fine. There is a lot of trouble that comes with this. And if you weren't able to get it, like you definitely should have. It's always better to look at the solution than to just never know the answer. So let's start by building this. First, let's just define the fact that it is 3/4 wide. 3/4. We haven't defined a 3/4 class yet, so let's do that right now. In our util classes, let's have 3/4, and as you can all probably guess, the width is 75%. And now we can see here that nothing has changed. Okay, I guess we can do some more stuff first. All right, I guess I'll just take a quick stopping point to see if there's any questions on anything at all. You want me to go over anything, etc.
I think there's some in the chat box.
Oh, I just realized I have not been looking at the chat. Thank you for reminding me. Wait, can anyone see my chat? When I'm screen sharing?
No.
Can't see my chat now? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. I'm kind of a boomer. Okay, bootstrap grid. Oh, for padding in the body part, does it apply to inside the cells too? No. So just to go more into body. Body is your entire page. It's the page. So when you're padding the page, it just pads kind of around the page, as you can see. So we've added a body padding of 10. So you can see there's a body 10 padding around that, and only that. The stuff you define inside the body isn't affected by that. You can kind of think of the body class as just if this was class equals body, and this is just one big div. That's kind of what you can think about that. So another question: how does it distinguish between top and bottom versus left and right? Yeah. So this is just what I said was. I guess. Wait, Anjan, you want to specify what you meant by that?
Yeah, sorry. I was talking about like padding. You know how you said you could have like 0, 10 to specify left and right. Like how does it? And you said that could also be for top, bottom. Is there a way to like specify which one you're talking about?
Yeah. So for every command or a lot of commands, there's like you have padding, right? You can also do padding left. You can do padding right. You can do padding top. You can do padding bottom. So that's how you kind of do it manually. If you want to do it all in one line, which is actually really useful to know, it knows which one is which direction just by standards. Like the first one is the top, then left, then bottom, then right. And you just had to know that because that's how the computer interprets it. So you have to make sure you kind of match the computer. Same with the 2 version. Like it just knows that this is the top and bottom, and it knows that this is the left and right. And you just have to know that because that's how the computer will interpret it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, awesome. Kimberly, use width, heights, and pixels. Yeah, it will translate to different sizes on different laptop screens or phones, depending on what device you use. It's usually better to use percentages, or another cool unit is called the rem. So it's similar to the m, but depending on the device you're on and the size, like the letter m will vary depending on the font and stuff. So rem, I forget what it stands for. It stands for something, but it's basically a kind of a universal 2x scale as well. So either use percents, or if percents aren't terribly applicable, because sometimes they aren't very applicable. Using rem is always a good sign. I guess you can look that up. I'd recommend looking things up, because as web developers, you look things up a lot. Awesome. So I'll get back, if there's no more questions, I'll get back to the project to see. Let me just remind myself where I am. Okay, this. Oh yeah, creating this section. So this is kind of a challenge. Let's take a look at how we should structure this, right? So I'm closing inspect element and try to do it manually. So we have this container, and in this container we have 5 more containers that are in a column. So that kind of clues us off that we should probably use display flex on this container of topics, and then we should set the flex direction to column. And each of these kind of containers should be a div with height 20%, since there's 5 of them. 100 divided by 5 is 20%. So let's just put that in there, right? So let's call this topic container. And within that, there are 5 divs. And let's call each of these a topic. Yep. Just one more thing, just to be consistent, because in our articles, we did the article and then half. It's super important to be consistent in code, especially because you want always be the only person looking at your code. Let's kind of keep with that theme of thing and then size. So topic container, let's start defining that. Where should we define that? Let's just start a new kind of section at the bottom. So we already decided display flex, and then flex direction to be column. And for each topic, we decided that the height would be 20%. Awesome. So let's see. Let's put some content in there. So this is a link, as you can see. It kind of takes you to hashtag politics or hashtag technology if they existed. 1 second. Yeah. So, but these are also kind of like headers. So let's create a header tag, and within that header tag, we'll have a link tag. So let's have, these are pretty important. They're pretty different sections of the site. They're definitely more important articles. So let's call these H3s. And with that, we'll have a link. And within that link, we'll have the word politics. And the href should be hashtag politics. Hell yeah, I'm so woke. All right, so we know already that this is going to have a class. Let's call this class equals topic title. And we're going to define these now. So when we copy paste, it'll be a lot easier. And actually, let's just delete all these and copy paste the whole line at once because I'm lazy. Looks good to me. Okay, 2, 4, 5. Awesome. And you can see it automatically does itself. And now I'm gonna copy all these real fast. Yes. If anybody has any questions, shout them out. At this point, busy work is always a good time to answer questions. All right, let's see what we got. Sick. Titles. I don't know why this is like slightly wider. I'll look into that later. Yeah, it should be 25%. I am actually quite confused, but that is also a later thing, just because we don't have the most time. We have about 5-6 more minutes left. See if we can do this. So what have we defined so far? Topic, quarter. Okay, awesome. So we can see already that these titles are in the middle of these things. So a really easy way to get anything to the middle in terms of like vertical alignment is to just set display flex on topic. Display flex. and then just set align items center. Easiest way to do that by far. And then we will get topic title and make it a respectable looking title, because right now it just looks like a link. Let's see what the details are on this. So text decoration none, that's valid. So just in case you're unsure, text decoration is like this underlining stuff you see here, but there's no underlining here, right? So that means that there is no text decoration here, there's no underlines, so we can, that's kind of what that means. Font bold, font family, I don't know what the font family is by eyeballing it, so let's put that in there and see what we've come to. Okay, it's a lot better, though these do have background colors. So let's figure out how to deal with that. So there are a couple of ways you could do that. Because these only appear once, it wouldn't be a bad idea to say style equals color. However, just for the sake of scalable architecture, we'll define these as classes. So the reason you'd want to define as classes is, let's say you reuse the colors for politics or technology or whatever, which you probably would if you're making a full kind of news site. You wouldn't want to have to copy and paste color everywhere, because let's say your manager or something decides they don't like the color for politics and they want it to be like 2 shades darker. They need to go everywhere and change the inline CSS. However, if you use a class, you just have to change that one place. That's always the benefit of having classes. This isn't super important in this setting because we aren't building an entire site, but just in general, it's always good practice, so I'll do it. And here we'll define 5 classes in the util classes, because they are kind of utility classes. They aren't necessarily defining a huge kind of formatting part of our site, but they are definitely needed. They're kind of utility classes where you can kind of throw in everywhere. Like if you want a technology color, you can just say class technology. Kind of like an easy throw in there variable. And to get the colors, since I also cannot eyeball hex code perfectly, let's just rip them off of the site. So let's see how this is formatted. Wow, I kind of formatted this the exact same way. Isn't that a coincidence? So background color, this thing, heck yeah. Or yep. Just so I want to say it again, let me do this. And technology is this one. You know, for the sake of time, let's say they're all teal. Teal is great. Or, you know, let's alternate just so there's some sort of visual distinction. I love stripes. Stripes are also a great fashion statement. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, yeah, because I didn't save the in HTML. Okay, now it should work. Heck yeah. Now, one last thing, we're almost done, is that there's a little bit of padding on the left here. See where that came from? Oh, there's a horizontal padding of 30 pixels. I don't want to type that. Let's just take that off of there. And that's defined to each topic. So let's just put it in there. Another option is we could define that to the whole topic column. It's perfectly fine because it's fine. It's applied to every topic. So it's not like, yeah, it's applied to every topic. So we can apply it to the whole topic column. But just for now, I'll just apply it to each topic, just in case we want to get fancy with topic styling at some point. Awesome. I don't know why this is broken. I'll look at it last. Yeah, as I said. And let me just put the image real quickly in there. Let me get the image here. So as you can see, we got it from URL source, place corgi. If you ever need a placeholder picture, place corgi is the best place to get it. And these are just the width and the height that we want. And for the article image, because we can see here that's 100% width, I will set that to 100% width. And I'll put that under article title, just because it kind of goes into articles. Right? Width. Now let's see if we have a corgi on our page. No? Oh yeah, I had to save this. Always forget to save. Yep, sick. Isn't that cute corgi? Awesome. One last thing I do want to point out before figuring out why this happened, I really don't know why that happened, is you can see here on the original that if you hover over it, it goes underlined, right? So how do you do that? Right? Vicky or Arushi, have you guys taught pseudo classes yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, since you guys should know the hover pseudo class, just put that in there. Topic title, yep. Topic title. And as I said before, the underline is part of text decoration, so we can just get rid of that and keep text decoration and just set text decoration to underline. And the text decoration underline will automatically be the same color as the actual text color. So now that should work. Yep, and it works. Awesome. And it leads us to hashtag politics. And now I'm gonna figure out why this is broken, because we do have we have a solid minute left, and that is bugging me. Why is that happening? Oh yeah, also for everyone who was curious about debugging, this is just how people do it. They just put on inspect element and then just kind of see, you can see the rules, the CSS rules for everything here. And you can kind of also see a nice little visualization of the DOM with like the green and the orange. You can also see it down here, how much padding is applied within each section, which is super cool. So yeah, it's just kind of looking at the CSS and just figuring out what went wrong. In this case, I don't know what went wrong. This is, so does anyone see what went wrong? Because I don't.
That happened to me too. I think it's just because there's like 2 items on the row instead of 3 like on top.
That shouldn't be a problem because we're assigning this to 25%, we're assigning this to 75%.
I don't know. I couldn't fix it, so I just kind of left it as is.
Yeah, Hector
Why-
came into my room and asked, and I couldn't fix it either.
Why didn't,
All the last minute.
what? Why? Okay, I'm just really confused about why. Okay, this does look slightly different. Why does this look slightly different? Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, man.
I think I had to like pat it a bunch of times and go back and change the width or something.
That's probably it. You know, wow, I just wrote this perfectly functioning code. I didn't make this, I made this. Solution accomplished. But yeah, I guess that's about it for this. If that happened to you, I will keep on looking into it because I really do want to figure out what happened, because it's never, oh, it's border box. You're right. You're right. Okay, so one quick life lesson on CSS. You always do this. Use a wildcard selector and do, I forget the exact thing, box sizing border box. This will save your life because CSS is really stupid and doesn't include certain parts of the DOM model within the border and outside the border. And to get what's intuitive, you do box sizing border box. So now it should work. Yes. Oh no, that's the old one. Let me see if the new one works. Yeah, it does work. So yeah, always start off every CSS document with this because it makes everything a lot easier. And you don't need to think about why you need to do this because it solves.
Okay, so I